Hello and a warm welcome to the programme. I'm Teniola Shabwale. We begin in Sudan, where opposition activists say 40 bodies have been pulled from the River Nile in the Sudanese capital, Khartoum, following a violent crackdown on protesters. Doctors linked to the opposition said the bodies were among 100 people believed to have been killed since security forces attacked a protest camp on Monday. They say members of a feared paramilitary group are roaming the streets attacking civilians. In the meantime, the military has vowed to investigate.
Sudan's military ruler has offered to resume a dialogue on a transition to democracy, one day after he scrapped all agreements with an opposition alliance. The offer by the head of Sudan's ruling military council, Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, comes as the number of people killed since security forces stormed a protest camp in Khartoum. In a message for the Muslim Eid al-Fitr broadcast on state television, Burhan paid homage to the uprising that began in December and culminated with a military overthrow and arrest of President Omar al-Bashir in April. He says he's still ready to hand over power to an elected government.
Free citizens, the past few days have witnessed sorrowful events resulting from the joint security force efforts to deal with certain threats and security complications. Unfortunate events followed, resulting in the fall of victims and of injured. We are sorry for what happened. We pray for the souls of the martyrs and hope the quickest of recoveries for the wounded. The General Prosecutor has been directed towards investigating these events.
Those injured have been receiving medical treatment at the Royal Care Hospital in Khartoum, according to the Central Committee of Sudan Doctors. More people have been killed throughout Khartoum and its twin city of Omdurman. Talks between the Transitional Military Council, which has ruled since President Omar al-Bashir was overthrown in April, and the opposition remain deadlocked. But the United Nations Rights Agency calls for negotiations for a transition to civilian-led power in the nation to continue.
Instead of targeting the protest leaders, we call on the Transitional Military Council to reach out to them again for a renewed negotiation and a discussion about how to manage the transition of Sudan to a civilian-led administration.
Even though the military has called for snap elections within 9 months, there is still a deep difference over who will lead the transition of Sudan's democracy.
Now, today is World Environment Day, celebrated annually every June the 5th. It's a United Nations initiative launched in an attempt to effectively combat problems of environmental degradation. The theme for this year is Beat Air Pollution, chosen by the host country, which is China. According to the UN, approximately 7 million people worldwide die prematurely each year from air pollution, with about 4 million of these deaths occurring in Asia Pacific. World Environment Day is marked to urge governments, industry, communities and individuals to explore renewable energy and green technology that will improve air quality in cities and regions across the country.
World Environment Day highlights how much we all rely on nature and on our planet's health. The quality of the water we drink, the food we eat, and the air we breathe all depend on protecting the natural world. But the environment is facing unprecedented perils caused by human activity. 1 million species are at risk of extinction. Oceans are under stress. Air pollution is claiming 7 million lives every year and damaging children's development. Many air pollutants also cause global warming, and climate change is an existential threat. In my recent visit to the South Pacific, I saw firsthand the severe and worsening impacts of the global climate emergency. There is no time to lose. This is the battle of our lives. We must win, and we can. Solutions exist. Tax pollution, not people. Stop subsidizing fossil fuels. Stop building new coal plants. People everywhere are demanding action. On World Environment Day, let us heed their call. Thank you.
Now, joining us to discuss more on tackling environmental challenges is Caleb Adebayo, an environmental lawyer. Thank you so much for joining us on Network Africa.
Thank you very much.
So this year's theme is Beat Air Pollution. Figures show that 92% of people worldwide do not breathe clean air. what are the day-to-day causes of air pollution?
Thank you very much. So first, happy World Environment Day.
Same to you.
Like you said, about 9 in 10 people living, walking on Earth breathe polluted air. And there are a number of causes of air pollution. The largest cause is often industries. Oil companies doing a lot of production of oil and gas. We have industries, manufacturing. We have the cars that we use on the roads, especially the old cars, because of course they're combustion fuel, and this is resulting in air pollution. We have also indoor air pollution, using of open fires, burning. We often burn waste, using of firewood to cook, using of kerosene stoves, and the outdoor, of course, which I've mentioned, including the activities of manufacturing companies, oil and gas companies, and the companies around us that produce a lot of things are essentially almost every day contributing to air pollution.
Yeah, like I said, it's the little things every day, isn't it? But can we actually beat air pollution?
Yes, we can.
How?
It's a big and almost difficult fight, but it's something that we can win. And why do I say so? Because if air pollution is caused by our individual activities, either as corporations or as individuals, then we can stop air pollution, or we can beat air pollution if we reduce or stop these activities. Take, for instance, one of the things that contributes to air pollution I hadn't mentioned earlier is agricultural wastes. So we have the use of a lot of fertilizers that contain high nitrogen. And as a result of this, it does not just affect the soil, the effects are very dangerous to the air and dangerous to humans as well. But if we decide to use the alternative, which are environmentally friendly fertilizers, then we are making a case for beating air pollution as a result. Let's also imagine that the big oil corporations can decide, let's stop gas flaring, for instance. And I mean, I understand the Nigerian government is doing great in this aspect to make sure that gas flaring is reduced. So let's stop gas flaring. Let's ensure that we're moving from oil to gas, which is low carbon, and then we're trying to move from gas to renewable energy, which is what a number of oil companies are trying to do these days. So if we say we're doing that, if individuals who ordinarily have to use their cars to go on a certain trip decide, okay, I'll take the public transport. But again, if the government provides a proper public transportation system that works for people, then people will use it more. And as a result, there'll be reduction of personal cars, reduction of pollution in the streets, and air pollution reduces. So essentially, it's something we can beat because it's something we are causing. So if we decide intentionally as governments, as corporations, as individuals to work against air pollution, then we can definitely beat it.
How can we do this fast enough, though? Just this year, we've had different issues facing the environment. We've had cyclones in the southern part of Africa, the first in many years in Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Malawi. In your opinion, are African leaders doing enough to tackle the growing challenges of climate change, or is it something that, it's just kind of pushed to the side?
I don't think any government is doing enough. African governments face two challenges. There's finance, and there is the political will. So finance is a big challenge because Africa, we're struggling with a lot of things economically, and climate finance is expensive. So yes, we have agreements that say that the foreign countries, the superpowers, should contribute certain amounts to the Green Climate Fund for African countries and low income countries. But then that's not happening a lot. And as a result, it's affecting our ability to do. So we're not doing enough. On one side, because we don't have enough money to do it. On the other side, because there's not enough political will. Because you see most African countries have signed the Paris Agreement, but then coming back home, you see them doing things that are at counter purposes with what they signed. Developing their coal industries, for instance, doing still a lot of oil exploration that is done in a non-environmentally friendly way. And so as a result of this, it cannot be said that we're doing enough. I think there's still a long way that we have to go for African governments.
Well, what can we as normal citizens do to push the government to do more?
First, advocacy. I think that's a very important thing, and it's part of what I'm doing my non-profit organization during this period. We're doing a mask campaign. So essentially the campaign is put on a mask, take a picture, and as a result of that, people begin to know that, oh, what you're doing. It's a United Nations campaign, by the way, and so we're just falling in line with it. So we're saying, hey, the air is so bad for us to breathe that we have to put on masks, and that's a symbol of the fact that corporations, individuals should reduce air pollution, to stop air pollution altogether. So advocacy is one. Two, being conscious about the fact that these things affect our daily lives. People do not see these consequences as real things. They don't see them as really tangible. Until you show them the statistics that 114 million people died in 1 year in Nigeria from air pollution. Show them that 7 million people are dying all over the world every year. Show them that Nigeria is the 4th most polluted country in the world in terms of air pollution, that we're leading the chart in Africa, and that these things are real problems affecting people. Bronchitis, asthma, so many illnesses and sicknesses people are actually dying from. Until we begin to understand and have that consciousness, then we would not start actually putting things in place, because policies in companies should change, policies in the government should change, activities of human beings should change, and as a result of these, we can fight air pollution.
What role do you think poverty has in all this, though?
A big role. It said that the poorest countries are the countries that feel the greatest effect of climate change, of all of these environmental disasters. And this is why. First, we do not have enough money to mitigate and adapt. So when it faces us, unlike the bigger countries that have enough finance to say, okay, let's develop this, let's adapt to this, let's do climate smart agriculture at the levels that we can, we don't have enough finance to do that. So that's the first problem. And secondly, our geographical surroundings, where we are, where these countries are, it's also a problem. So we have that problem. We have the problem of also financing. As a result of that, with poorer countries, we face the greater effect of climate change than the larger countries. And the sad thing is that we are contributing very, very little to climate change.
We're talking about individuals here. We're talking about what role do individuals play in the whole climate change issue?
Okay, the world is made up of individuals.
Yeah.
Organizations are made up of individuals, the government is made up of individuals. So we play a big role. If each individual can start in their small space to begin to push for these things, advocate for it, speak out against it, be vocal about it. The thing is, we have gotten to that point where it's more important to take care of the now, the needs that are facing us. We need money. We need money to do this. We need money to run this. And then as a result of that, we give up the things that we need to take care of in terms of environment. We give up those regulations that we need to put in place because we think, oh, if we put these regulations in place, big oil is not going to be able to make the money it's supposed to make. So it depends on every individual deciding by themselves to say, I want to be part of this fight, I want to be part of this revolution. And it's happening, but then it needs to happen at a larger scale.
All right, then, Caleb Adebayo, very interesting conversation. Thank you so much for
Thank you very
speaking
much,
to us today, and happy Environmental Day once again.
Same to you.